Hey everybody, I hope you're ready for part 3 of my October Halloween TBR list. I promise this is the last one. 11 more books for your TBR, but they're all going to be a bit creepy, they're all going to be a bit spooky, they're all going to be a bit thrillery, and they're all going to want to make you read more and more. So let's get started. Hi everybody, and welcome back to my channel. It's Russell with Ink and Paper Blog. How are you all doing today? As always, I hope you're happy, I hope you're healthy, I hope you're safe, I hope you're warm, and I hope you've been enjoying this holiday October season. Today I'm back with part 3 of my holiday reading TBR list, and I have to tell you that this is exciting because a lot of these books that are going to be in this list today are actually recommended by my husband. So I will do my best to summarize them for you, but he is the one that's actually read most of them. But we're going to start with the ones I read. So get out your pen, your paper, your TBR, your Goodreads, however you keep track of your TBR. If you are so able, get some of these books from your local independent bookstore. It's holiday season. They need us now more than ever. Or if you're a library user, go ahead, get your library to get you a copy as soon as possible. The first book we're going to talk about is The Hazelwood by Melissa Albert. This is out from Flatiron Books. This is the story of a young woman and her mother. They are actually usually very much a transient a parent-child. They don't really settle down until their grandmother passes away. Now, the grandmother is famous for writing these dark fairy tales. They return to the grandmother's home, and then the mom mysteriously disappears, leaves a note not to go into the Hazelwood because it's there where her grandmother said her stories that she has supposedly disappeared. So our young character has to rely on people who are fascinated and almost fanatical about her grandmother's stories in order to try to find her mother. So that's The Hazelwood by Melissa Albert, out from Flatiron Books. The next book is a thriller I read a couple years ago now, and I want to say the author has produced a book every year since. This is the only one I've read so far, Bird Overboard. It just does not want to stay up in these videos. And that is The Winter Sister by Megan Collins. Now, this is the story of two sisters when they are young. One of them, I think they're like 16, one of them is murdered, and that is never solved. And so the other sister, after years awake, returns home to take care of the mother, and all of a sudden starts to find clues and wants to start investigating the death of her sister. And that includes looking into some people that she thought may have been people she could have trusted in the past, or people that were ruled out as suspects. This is a good old-fashioned murder mystery thriller. You will absolutely love it. It's The Winter Sister by Megan Collins, and this one is out from Atria Books. Okay, let's do a quick graphic novel. And I say that almost jokingly because this book is a tome, but it is worth every penny and every moment you spend reading. My Favorite Thing is Monsters by Emily Ferris. Now, if you want to really dive into Emily Ferris and her life, it is fascinating, and that she wrote this book is fantastic. She also illustrates all of this book. And so I love the way that the book is just summarized. It says, this is a murder mystery, a family drama, a sweeping historical epic, a psychological thriller about monsters real and imagined within and without. That is all you need to know. This book is much deeper than sort of just taking it at face value. There's a lot of depth to it, but it's also just a great story. It just has a lot of thrill to it, it has a lot of everything you need, but also is great literary art. So that's My Favorite Thing is Monsters by Emily Ferris, and this book is very, very heavy. Now, I will say the rest of the books on this list are actually all on my husband's iPad, and that is because he is actually a digital reader, 100% through and through. So I'm going to put pictures right here of these books, but I'm going to be reading their titles and names off this iPad, so I'm sorry I don't normally look down as much as I will going forward. But the next book that we're going to recommend is My Heart is a Chainsaw by Stephen Graham Jones. Now, Stephen Graham Jones has had a couple of books come out lately, and I've had a number of friends, but my husband read this one and said it was a trip. So it really starts on this premise of this love for slasher films. We have a main character, I believe her name is Jade, and she is just obsessed. And she starts to notice that these murders that are happening around her in her neighborhood can be explained by the things that she has learned from these slasher films. But what happens when that all goes out of control? That's all you really need to know. So that's My Heart is a Chainsaw by Stephen Graham Jones. The next book he wants me to recommend to you is A Deadly Education by Naomi Novik. Now, this is sort of a weird entry in that this is like just a dark fantasy novel. This is about an evil, dark sorceress, but she really doesn't want to be, but everyone expects her to be. But she has one person who has saved her life twice that she is ready to get rid of. But is she going to buck the trend? Is she going to do what everybody thinks she's going to do? Or is she going to be able to write her own story? So this book right here is A Deadly Education by Naomi Novik, out now. Okay, the next book in this list is Never Saw Me Coming by Vera, Kurian. I actually really like this cover. I find this cover a little bit creepy in a lot of ways. But this is the story of, it's weird to say the story of a psychopath, but Chloe is a psychopath. She's going to a university and she is one of 7 psychopaths being studied on this university. And I love the way that this is explained. When one of the students in the study is found murdered in the psychology building, a dangerous game of cat and mouse begins, and Chloe goes from hunter to prey. Now she is, she's a psychopath. She's got this in her mind that she's going to take out this man that wronged her many, many years ago, but now everything has changed. So that is Never Saw Me Coming by Vera Kurian, and you can get, I think this is HarperCollins. Yeah, HarperCollins. You can get your copy right now. I think it came out in September. The second book I'm actually going to recommend in this 31 book series by this author, Grady Hendrix, is The Final Girl Support Group. I actually probably will wind up getting a copy of this. Weirdly enough, I own all of Grady Hendrix's books except this one, so I might as well finish it off. And they all very much could have been on this list. But The Final Girl Support Group is the story of women who are the only ones to have survived some sort of mass murder. And they get together and they sort of have this therapy group. But one day, one of them doesn't show up, and it turns out she has been murdered. And now is someone hunting the women of the final girl support group? Or is it all in their head? Or what is really going on? So that's The Final Girl Support Group by Grady Hendrix, and this is out from Quirk Books. I just like to always recommend Quirk Books because they're a little tiny publisher, and I absolutely love them. The next book in our list is going to be We Were Never Here by Andrea Bartz. This is an interesting book. I was reading about it before I started this. So what would you do if you had twice gone on a hiking trip with a friend, and both times at the end of the trip, your friend killed someone in self-defense? So the book starts at the end of one of these trips, and our main character walks into a room and finds that her friend, who she's been on this trip with, has murdered this backpacker. And the backpacker supposedly, I'm not going to say if yes or no, had attacked her, and she had done it in self-defense. Well, now she's home and she can't really get over this trauma. She keeps thinking about it, but now here comes her friend back. What are you thinking? What are you going to do? What story you're going to tell? So that's We Were Never Here by Andrea Bartz. I think that's from Penguin Random House, but I'm not good at doing things on my iPad, y'all. So I'm doing my best. The next book my husband has read as well, and that's The Root of Ice and Salt by José Luis Zárate, and this is translated from the Spanish by David Bowles. Now, it's not a trigger warning. This is just this book is definitely rated R. My husband, who does not blush much, said this book is a little tawdry, a little vulgar at times. So I'm giving that warning out there. If that's not for you, this is not the book for you. But this is a retelling of part of the Dracula myth. This is the story of the ship coming from England. I think it comes from London to America. Don't quote me on that. But Dracula, I'm having a hard time saying Dracula today. Dracula, it's told from the point of view of the ship's captain, who's some weird fantasies in his head, and Dracula is there, and people are dying and things are happening, and you know how it is. If you know Dracula, it never ends well for anybody. So that's The Root of Ice and Salt by José Luis Zárate, translated from the Spanish by David Bowles. Okay, the next book in our list is our sci-fi edition, and That is, oh, I'm sorry. I'm getting a little bit all over the place on my iPad here. This is The Body Scout by Lincoln Michael. And this is a sci-fi book. So imagine that you could purchase whatever body parts you want. Cybernetic, you can just purchase them, but you have to continue to pay for them. And our main character is running up at a deadline. He cannot pay for his cybernetic parts. And so people are coming to collect. And all of that is going on when his brother is murdered, and he has to deal with that. And it says, determined to find the killer, our character plunges into a world of genetically modified CEOs, philosophical Neanderthals, and back alley body modifications, only to quickly find he's in a game far bigger and more corrupt than he imagined. That is The Body Scout by Lincoln Michael, and it is out now. And this is from the Hatchet book group. I haven't done much on Hatchet, so I'm glad I got to talk about that one. Last but not least, everyone, is Survive the Night by Riley Sager. I'm going to put that picture right there. This book sounds great. I might actually read this one. So this is the story of Charlie. Charlie is in a car driving across country with a man named Joss. Now, Charlie is fleeing trauma. Her best friend was supposedly killed by the campus killer, and she is returning home, I believe, to Ohio. And she is in this car with this guy, Josh, and he says he's returning home in order to take care of a sick parent. But as she sort of gets to know him, starts to listen to his story, Charlie starts to notice that his story has a lot of holes in it, and it does not quite make sense. And maybe he's not what she thought. That is Survive the Night by Riley Sager, out now, and I think that one sounds really good. It sounds like it's going to be a fantastic movie. Well, I hope you enjoyed these 3 videos with all of these Halloween recommendations. This was all my husband's idea, but I had a lot of fun doing it. And I know a lot of you like to read thrillers and spooky books and stuff like that. And I hope that 1 or 2 or 31 of these wound up on your TBR. As always, I always encourage you to read globally, and shop locally. And until next time, I wish you happy reading. Bye, everyone.